What's up, folks? And welcome to another episode of Healthy Living in Wine. I'm your host, JQue. Remember, this podcast is where we explore conversations that meet connection with every single pour. Listen, tonight we are stepping into the conversation about your mind, your body, and your spirit, and how they're craving moments to breathe, to slow down, and to return to ourselves, right? Movement meets mindfulness. And it's all about being present, grounding yourselves, clarity, and the kind of wellness that softens us back to the alignment, right? In one of our previous episodes, we had Maria on, and understanding that our worthiness is really tied up into our alignment, to being able to clear the smog, to be able to get clear on how we are going to design our lives and be intentional about it, right? And I know that a lot of times, we're hustling and we're bustling. I'm probably one of the most overly productive persons that I know personally. But slowing down, being mindful about my movement, being intentional about the movement of being mindful has been so important for me to be able to be as productive as I am. Before we get started, I want to definitely take a moment to highlight our sponsors. Thank you so much for supporting Healthy Living in Wine and this experience. Côte de Femme, our official wine sponsor, inviting you to live extra with every sip in every moment. Black Umbrella Studio, my creative and productive home. They're my family. This entire experience comes to life at Black Umbrella Studio. And then Body Lovin' Skincare, keeping our self-care rooted in nourishment, softness, and intention. All right, so let's get a few housekeeping rules out of the way. If you're watching this live or if you're watching on a replay, grab your glass. Now is the time you need to be filling up your glass. Wine, water, Kool-Aid, whatever it is, these episodes are meant for you to sip along with us, right? If you see something, please like, share, and comment. All of your feedback means a lot to me, and it's what keeps the conversation flowing. Now, the question that I have for the audience members, now that you have your glass, for me to understand where you are and as we start to dive into this conversation is, where in your life is your peace asking for more space? Ooh, baby. That is a deep question. Where in your life right now is your own peace asking for more space, more room, more growth, right? Drop it in the comments right now. And let's hold your personal reflection while we talk about it. I'm excited tonight to have my girl sitting next to me in the chair. And she probably doesn't know, or maybe I've already told her, but she is my movement, my peaceful movement go-to. Seriously. I have told her this over and over and over again. The things that she brings to the table and how she puts in practice the movement of mindfulness has really helped me step into understanding that movement itself can be mindfulness, right? In this season of our lives, I have to understand that movement is necessary, right? But the mindfulness that we attach to that movement is what makes the difference. So without introducing titles, without understanding resumes, I like to get the audience an opportunity to know you through the conversation and by kicking it off with a question. So the question asks you the same way. What parts of your peace right now in your life are asking for space, Robyn?
Well, I think that in moments where you require space are moments where you feel away.
Okay.
In essence, you are the root of your suffering. So in areas of your life where there's a disappointment, a disconnect, something that you don't necessarily regard in a desired way.
Mm-hmm.
It's for you to have that moment of stillness to reflect.
Yes.
And reset back to the core of what any of this is for. And what happens when you have that moment of stillness, it allows your breath to guide your spirit through the body. Because your spirit is speaking through your body. So what you feel in the body is directly tied to what you must work on within yourself. But we can talk about that later.
Woo!
But just as simple as what happens throughout the day, I try to live as present as possible and live without expectation, because those come with limits. And so just I take each moment for the lesson and in that moment. And I always incorporate moments of stillness, intentional pauses, because I know the importance of it through my practice.
Okay.
But for those who have a hard time with incorporating that, understand God gives it as your right. It's part of what must happen for you to exist, just like you must eat. Be intentionally still and present when you eat.
Wow.
Because what you allow in your body is what you become. So as you are ingesting, give gratitude, allow your process. Breathe intentionally.
Wow.
Feel, breathe, allow. Let's use the bathroom.
Something as simple as that, right?
Seriously, God gives you moments of pauses for that space to reset, to be present in peace. It's part of your natural cycle. So honor that.
Yeah.
Do it. Be present as much as possible and allow life to reflect those moments that you need to allow yourself to have space.
Wow.
Let go or connect with what you are aligning with next.
It's not funny. It's coincidental. It's not coincidental. It's confirmation. It's alignment, because I'm beginning to understand that mindfulness is not a trend.
No.
It is not a trend, y'all. It's something that literally this world, we as people, we really need to get back to understanding how important being mindful, being in the moment, living without expectations or the expectations we have put on ourselves based on others. When we ignore what our body is saying to us, which is usually, one of my recent guests, Maria, the same way she kind of works in the same field as you, same thing, confirmation. Our bodies tell us, our minds tell us, our conscious tells us when we're out of alignment, when we are out of the mindfulness, when we are not living within ourselves and we are allowing the outer forces to determine what that is. We are completely out of alignment. We ignore what our body is saying. We become numb and we lose the message that was meant for us to design our own lives, right? Yeah. By not, first of all, living in the moment and not being mindful or connected to what our own bodies are telling us. Research shows that mindful movement reduces stress hormones by up to 40%. 40%. When we are intentional about the movement and our mindfulness, we can, just something as simple as that, we can reduce stress in our bodies.
Yeah, which is the root of how many?
Ooh, girl, every illness we have is by some kind of stress.
Exactly. And we are the root of that.
Yeah, we are the root.
So understand what our stressors are rooted in. Is it in our ego? Is it in our self-doubt? What is it rooted in? And address it. Because so many times we want to blame others for the stress that we feel. And it's really just shedding light on what it is that we need to work on within ourselves.
When people walk into one of your sessions and they walk into a space, they feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling disconnected. Where do you see that the movement and the mindfulness is like hiding inside of them? How do you help them discover that through the sessions that they get with you?
Well, in the practice of yoga, which the definition of that word is the union of your true self.
Mm-hmm.
You are your mind, body, and spirit. So the point of the movements are the final pose, which is Shavasana. And it's where you lie still and you connect with your spirit. You allow the body to trust in the earth that it is resting in. And you guide the mind through your breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And you focus into your light. So just as we must work the body to get into that, we have to be understanding of that in the beginning.
Wow.
So when you come into a practice,
Mm-hmm.
when we start, there is always the discussion of how you feel. How does your body feel? And how is your mind? And it's not for the accountability of sharing your truth. It's for the accountability of self.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you say, I don't know, or you don't care to share, that is perfectly fine, because the intention is for you to hear that and to be aware of it and let that be a part of what you are breathing into while we are going through the practice for you to get back to it. Stillness is where you become accountable for what it is that you feel. When you are constantly in motion, you may become aware of things, but you continue on so you can negate and not address. But it is in stillness where the areas that need that most attention will bother you the most.
Ooh, that is so true.
So the mindfulness of movement is for the respect of rest, and honor the point of it, because again, it is part of your cycle. It is just as much a part of your cycle as it is your waking state. So trust what that is for, its purpose.
Wow. You know, the body does keep score. Just like you were saying before, it lets us know. It will tell the truth, whether you want to hear it or recognize it or not, you know. And you can feel the difference between someone who is grounded or someone who's running on empty. I think that as humans sometimes, because we don't know the difference in being grounded or running on empty, we tend to relate the two as the same. In your practice and how you train and teach and guide people through that, how do you help people recognize the difference between grounding themselves and literally running on empty?
It's understanding what your body is speaking to you. And I can't tell you your language, but I can provide that safe space. I can provide you with guidance. I can guide your awareness of the parts of your body that you may be unnecessarily storing and causing harm according to where you are emotionally. So everything that you feel, it's in the body.
Yeah.
When your heart isn't right, it's in your hips.
Yep.
When your burdens are heavy, it's in your shoulders.
Yeah, studies show that whenever you're not in alignment, any kind of stress, you're emotionally misaligned, it shows up physically. It shows up in your body. There's tension, there's fatigue, there's digestive discomfort, there's disrupted sleep. So many things show up when we are misaligned emotionally. When I first started having sessions with you, and the very first session that I had with you was me. That was me. Oh God, I can't be quiet. And you know, I had all these qualms about what yoga was because I was on the traditional side of yoga, you know, the club side of yoga, the workout, the fitness aspect side of yoga. So it had become habitual for me to do the yoga for the stretch, to get more flexibility. I had not connected to the mindful side of what yoga could do for me until, of course, I met you, and the how you do your practice and how you do the initiatives and the rituals in your practice really allowed me to open up to connect the mindfulness to the movement and the poses and the flow that I was doing with you. And that's because you gave me permission. You guided me through allowing myself more than anything.
Yes.
You're right. It wasn't
The
you.
point.
It was a guiding to allowing myself.
Yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. It's you. And I'm just simply pointing out ways.
Yeah.
And it's for you to listen and connect and hear you, because it takes a while before you even identify how your spirit is speaking through you. And once you connect with that, then that takes you to another level. And so that's where the progression of the practice,
Comes in.
But the idea of, advance this, advance that, I've had, new yogis
Yep.
do headstands and on the
Yes.
first go without me touching them. Because you just guide the alignment and they trust and you connect with your body and you feel how you are guiding yourself through every part of the process. So I like to say, someone who's relatively healthy, there's not many yoga poses that you
Cannot do. Right. Right.
It's all a matter of leveraging the body. But
Has yoga or the wellness practice of yoga, has it always been a ritual in your life, or how did it become so prevalent for you, or guiding you through?
And yes,
Yes.
it did start with YouTube though.
Okay.
So I'll say COVID happened. COVID happened. I got into waist beads. I was still, working in corporate America, and the team had to go back in the office, but there
Yep.
really wasn't much to do. So we decided to learn dances and learn workouts, and
Okay.
one was yoga.
Ooh.
And when we did yoga, we said, you know what, this is a weekly thing. We're not going to stop. And so we continued to do yoga. Well, through that, I started deciding, okay, I'm going to live life a bit more. So I started traveling, getting waist beads. People wanted them. So I started making waist beads. My body would go numb. And so I would start stretching, doing some of those yoga poses.
Right.
And this would be over the summer. The kids would play in the pool. And, people would say, oh, you're just out there doing yoga all day. And I'm like, I'm not doing yoga. But then I went back to YouTube. And it sure enough was. I had kind of had a flow for yoga.
Nice.
And so life.
Life be
as,
lifing.
as life. And I got to a place where there was nothing I desired in life. And I had to make a decision on what is it that I wanted.
Wow.
And the only thing I could say to God was, I just want to travel and do yoga. So I Googled it, and sure enough, that was a thing. And so I did my research, and one summer I went overseas, and I got trained. And because I wanted to make sure that I could do the yoga and travel like I wanted to, I wanted just as much of Eastern influence as the Western requirement.
Yes.
So that's how I chose where I went, which was amazing. And so what I learned was yoga came about to meditate longer. And meditation was done through what's called japa mala beads,
Okay.
which are 108 beads that you put on a strand.
Wow.
The one represents this body, this life. The 0 represents the samsara, which is the cycle of all things.
Okay.
And the 8 is the infinite, that, this is merely part of it. It's not the beginning nor the end. So as you meditate and you chant with your japa mala beads, you connect to your higher self. And so in order to be able to do that without your body going numb, you would do yoga. So when you say, has it always been a ritual? It was before I even
knew it was a ritual.
And where I went, I can have a 2-hour conversation of just the things that happened, but all of the rituals that weren't supposed to be as they were ended up being exactly as they were. And all of the things that proved that there's never a reason to fear, held true. And so it's just always been that. And it's how I've remained authentic in my practice and how I teach. And I'm so grateful that living in my purpose, I align with those who understand that and they value that. And it's actually what they need.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
I'm grateful too, because when I met you, I was at that point in my life where I needed some rituals to help ground me, right? To help ground me. And I know the importance of yoga. I taught yoga for several years, but it was fitness yoga. It wasn't a practice, it didn't have to do with rituals. For me, it was something in the gym that made people feel like they were stretching. So I learned it in the cycle of that, and it never became a mindful practice or a grounding practice for me in that moment. It was just a part of my wellness and fitness instructor resume. You feel me? And here now, 10 years later, now yoga is a mindful ritual practice for me because I understand now how the flexibility and the flow and allowing myself the openness connects the mindful part for me. You know, at some point we all ask ourselves, am I living with intention or am I just moving through my days on autopilot? And when you said reactive. Most adults, most of them, I mean, we admit to living reactively. We're always reacting we're always responding to stress instead of creating the space for peace, to breathe through it. When you think about creating space to breathe or creating space to be intentional, how would you say that you've rebuilt your life with intention and more mindful presence?
There are sacred rituals that are embedded in how I have set up life.
Okay.
I know the level of stress that I deal with just being as blessed as I am. So I have been blessed enough to incorporate yoga regularly in my schedule twice a day, most days,
Okay.
to make sure I sit down somewhere and breathe.
Yes.
I don't, I don't have TVs. I don't use microwaves. I don't allow anything that takes away from me honoring a sacred process of what ultimately is part of what keeps me going.
Mm-hmm.
When I eat, I try to eat outside. When I bathe in darkness or in candlelight. I try to be intentional about every moment that I get to pause because, being a single woman, an entrepreneur, a mother of three, my
Okay.
daddy, and just so many other hats, you're in demand a lot. And I'm grateful
Yes.
to be who I am for those
Yes.
because they are everything for me. So by no means is that a conflict or a problem, but because I am aware of that, I make sure that those moments that I do have for myself are just for me, and have those sacred rituals in place.
Mindful living can be very, very powerful work. Stillness, rituals, movement can be very, very powerful work. But if you don't know that, what's your suggestion on people understanding or finding the importance of that and putting it into their life?
Sit outside.
Just go outside and sit there.
Start by sitting outside with nothing.
Okay.
If it's only 5 minutes, and then you'll get to a place to where you'll wander, you'll walk a little, you'll enjoy the smell of the air and what it is that you hear. And it's something about being in nature allows you to reconnect with the magic of who you are. And we can speak to each other as much as we want to, but sometimes you just don't hear people. You're tired of people. But there's the divine essence of nature that mirrors the divine essence in us. So just by simply sitting outside, it will give that spark. It will ignite that flame for you to breathe into what will guide you forward in your movement intentionally.
Intentionally. That's a big word. Being intentionally. It's not just a noun or an adjective, it's also a verb.
Yeah.
You know, it carries so many, so much. I mean, oh my God. It just, period.
Yes.
Period. You feel me? Like, period. I recognize that within myself, having a ritual of mindfulness and movement, and that movement I'm choosing is yoga to do mine, to flow in that, has created so much courage.
Yes.
For me, you know, I'm not the most flexible person, you know, and again, I started with yoga as a fitness aspect, from a fitness mindset, from the wellness mindset, not from the mindful mindset. But as I grew and I began to mesh them together, that understanding the movement and the mindfulness together are so much more powerful. It also became a ritual for me. And, you know, one of the things I love about you is, or taking a session from you is, it don't matter what level of yoga you are, you're going to leave there with some free mindfulness. Because for you, the way your session go, I don't have to know the name of the pose. I don't have to be, you know, super flexible like a pretzel. I can just be there and be guided through a flow using mindfulness techniques.
So,
Getting back to the alignment piece, you know, like you said, trusting yourself, the movement and the mindfulness together is that journey of doing it, is that journey of how we get there. It's the part of the process. It's part of the process. And it's individual. Everybody's journey through that is different.
All the time.
Even me. Shoot, sometimes when I'm moving through my mindfulness journey, it doesn't even look the same. Matter of fact, every time I have a session or I'm coming with intention, you know, to one of the sessions, I'm so, I do. My brain is so ritualistic that I come there. I know I got to set up my mat. I got to do this, that, and the other.
Now,
and
you know, you don't have to set up a mat because I already have mats set up.
She does, but I'm just. But again, that's the ritual thing, right?
You just come.
You just come. That is the ritual part I'm talking about, because most people think of yoga, you got to have all the things. You got to have the block. You got to have the right clothes. You got to have the non-slip stuff. You got to have this.
I have done yoga with older church ladies on a farm after Ursher practice in their uniform.
I know that's right.
And I just politely put a blanket over them, and we did our practice as we needed to.
Wow.
And this was several years ago. This was a black farm, a ladies-owned black farm in Harvest.
Wow.
Yes. So, you know, we really got a lot of luxuries around here, and especially within this community.
Yeah.
Our wellness community.
Yeah. That's what these conversations are about, for people to understand. Yeah, girl. Listen.
Connecting the tribe and living in your truth.
Living in my truth, connecting the tribe, staying connected. You know, I'm intentional about staying connected to my tribe because I understand that the mindfulness piece, knowing myself, I understand that the mindfulness piece, I need to be connected to a tribe that holds me accountable for when I show up with that tribe, to be connected to that mindfulness, to be intentional. They're expecting me, they're showing me, they're guiding me, they're setting the tone, they're making the atmosphere that way so that when I show up and I call or I say, I'm on my way, Robyn, but I don't have a mat. And she says, girl, you know you don't need a mat. JQue, just show up.
I always have mats.
She always has everything, whether it's a mat or whether it's not, whether it's grounding by just standing in the ground. Y'all, I did a grounding session with her one day and she didn't even know we were grounding. We were out there and she was just like, just put your feet on the grass.
Yeah.
What? Okay, I need my socks on. No, you don't, JQ. Just Breathe, y'all. And it's so important, Thank you, Robyn, so much for coming out, sharing the importance, folks, it's a wrap. This conversation tonight, we explored mindfulness, we explored peace, we explored presence. Most of all, we explored the courage to slow down long enough to hear yourself, to listen to your body. Every moment of tonight led us back to the one truth: to return to your breath, get clear on what you want to do, where movement and mindfulness have to be intentional. Right now in the season of life that the whole entire world is, I think being intentional about everything is going to get us to the next, is going to get us into the next journey. It's going to get us over the hump of what we call life, right? Because we're all being faced at every moment. It's a challenge of decision of this or that. And it requires us to be in alignment for us to choose appropriately. And with the practice and the rituals of movement and mindfulness, I know we can get back to that. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a part of my wellness series, my wellness life, my mindful life. Robyn is a true friend of mine, and she's family.
Of course.
She is family. From day one, she's been family. Listen, before we get out of here tonight, again, I want to thank Robyn for being here tonight. Her wisdom, her presence, her heart tonight. She showed up always with authenticity and intention. To everyone who's listening and watching, thank you for rocking with me, for sipping with us tonight, for being a part of the Healthy Living and Wine community. It is your energy that keeps this space alive. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please make sure you like, share, comment. We want to keep this conversation flowing, right? Be encouraged that healthy living and wine can definitely coexist together beautifully when balance, intention, and moderation are a part of the pour. Robyn, would you leave us maybe with some mindful thoughts and definitely a way that the audience can connect to you?
Yes. So the last part first.
Okay.
My yoga studio, and that's with an I, MIYOGA, yoga studio. It is in Harvest on Wall Triana near Nick Davis, inside of Chuck's Gym, right next to the subway. And then also follow Culture Valley Farms. Again, there's a lot of things that we are putting in place. Absolutely phenomenal. Again, I'm there every weekend except for the weekend around the holidays of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and whatnot. But otherwise, look for us on Saturday or Sunday. And this past Sunday, there was a question that came to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been the center of every part of my day since then.
Wow.
And it's, why did God choose you to be the light that you are?
Ooh.
And so that is what I will leave with.
That's a good one. That's definitely a soul searching movement and mindfulness situation, because you got to know within yourself. You're going to have to search that out. And that's good.
And be accountable to it.
Yeah.
Because God didn't create another you. So always remain authentically you. Because you are the light that you are in the way that you are. Because there could be no other.
There could be no other. Matter of fact, there couldn't. There is no other. We are all uniquely and wonderfully made, right? On purpose with intention.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, on that note, let's raise our glasses, right? Listen, thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Here's to breath we honor, the peace we protect, and the presence we choose with intention. Cheers. Thanks for listening, guys.